Hey there, Crystal here. Today I'm going to show you what I made. This is basically a keyboard that the players can use to input numbers and letters. After I show you how it works, I'm going to show you how I made it work. I'm going to show you what structures I have. I'm going to show you what nodes I have. I'm going to explain each node step by step. And after that, you can probably create something on your own, maybe even improve on what we already have here. So let's get into it. Right now we have two input layouts. We have numbers and we have letters. And in the future we're going to have where we can combine numbers and letters. But for now I want to keep it a little bit simpler. So if we go into enter numbers, you can see that we're going to have this nice little layout. And if we start inputting a number, let's say 67, because I know some of you like this meme for some reason. 69, nice. 1, 2, 3. And we submit it, you'll see that right now that number is saved in a custom variable, and I'll show you where it's saved later down the line. If we input another number, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we submit it, that number is going to be updated. And if we put another number, say 5,000, but we don't want it anymore, we want to put something else, we just hit the delete input, which is going to delete the entire number. Now, if we go into letters, it works pretty much the same. The implementation is a little bit different, but we'll talk about it when we get there. So let's write something down. Let's say, for instance, Cristo is cool, because I probably am. If we submit, right now there is an issue. Well, not really an issue, I just am lazy. Right now it only shows the first letter of that string that you have, but we're gonna make it so it shows the entire string later in the video. Let's say we want something else. Let's say we say, I don't know, Genshin was here, for instance. As you can see, we have a new text, and of course we also have a space bar, so if you want to add space between the words, you can. And if we hit submit or delete, it's going to do exactly like it does for the numbers. It's either going to delete the entire string, or it's going to submit this and put it into a custom variable. A little bit of lag over there. So that's how it basically works. Next, I want to show you how I made this thing. So let's just jump into it. Okay, so before we start, I want you to know that I'm doing this live, so it's probably going to end up, the video is going to end up a little bit longer than I anticipated, but please bear with me. I am going to try to explain everything that I did as best as possible. So let's get into it. Let's start with the UI first. We have three layouts. We have the default one, which you saw at the beginning, which allows you to enter the numbers input layout or the letters input layout. If we go into the numbers layout, this is what we have. We have basically images, text, some buttons, and we have a text that gets a custom variable from the player. This is basically the number. If we go into, and don't worry, we are going to come back to this when we need to. Right now I'm just like presenting you what we have. And if we go into letters, as you can see, this is what we will need to put in here for us to see our text as well. For those of you who programmed or know a little bit of programming, you will probably understand what's going on here. We don't actually input an entire text, or sorry, string. We basically have a bunch of characters that we put together into a list. That's how we create our text. So when you see, for instance, Crystal was here, you don't see the text itself, you just see letters. They are like right next to each other. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do a text yet. I think it is possible, maybe not, but we'll see. We'll see in the future. Maybe someone can come up with a better solution. But this is how it looks. If we go back into, let's go to advanced data management, you'll see that I like working with structures because I like to, it's a lot easier for me to be organized this way. As you can see, we have two structures. We have one for the player keyboard, in which we have an input number. We have input text, and I'll explain to you what these do or what they are. If we go down here, we have the current string ASCII. Now, we are using ASCII to get the letters, and I'll show you where you can find those as well. Result number, basically the result that you see, result text, and you have an index. This index allows us to go through that list of characters that I talked about earlier. And we also have a letters structured. This is where the ASCII, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way, don't know, don't really care, where we basically have two dictionaries. One in which the ASCII is the key and the value is the letter, and another one in which the letter is the value, the key, and the ASCII is the value. I don't really use this one. I only have that just in case. When I started working on it, I didn't know if I need it or not, but I was like, you know what, let's just create it. And for those of you who know ASCII, you'll see that each one has its own letter. 65 is, well, uppercase A, and if you really want lowercase, I don't know what the ASCII for that is, but you can add the lowercase as well here. And of course, spacebar has its own ASCII as well, which is why we have an empty space here. So if we go back into player keyboard, we have these two numbers right here. These two variables right here. If we go back into manage UI, and if we go into numbers and select this, you'll see down here that that is exactly what we have: input number and input result, or well, result down here. So we're basically using the variable from the player structure. Okay, next, let me show you how many nodes we're going to have. Now, keep in mind, you can combine all of these nodes into just one mega big node if you really want to. I did it this way just to keep it a little bit more organized and a lot simpler to follow. But if you have like a bigger project that you're working on, my suggestion is to just put everything that you're seeing here into just one script. That way you don't fill your node graph here, because I think there's a limit. I think it's 10 per object or per entity. But these are the scripts or nodes that we're going to that we have, and we're going to go through each one right now. So let me show you how this looks. So we have a game manager and we have input logics. Let's start with let me just do that. Let me start with the manager UI. Now, the manager UI, basically it is a manager that allows me to switch from layout to layout. As right now we have three layouts, is the default one where you can select to either enter the number layout or the letter layout, which is these two right here. And then we have the back button, or the button that allows us to go back to the default layout, which is this one right here. Not much is going on here. It's a pretty simple script that just allows you to switch from layout to layout. So now if we go into input, let's go into numbers. So as you can see, we are using compose nodes. I think they're called. My bad. I'm having a little composite nodes. I was saying it wrong. We have composite nodes because it is a lot easier than to just copy paste the same thing and just modify one value. We're gonna go into each composite node in a bit. I want to explain to you what's happening here. So as you can see, we have the event node that when you press one of the buttons, it just each button corresponds to a number. Now let me show you where these buttons are in the UI manager. If we go back into the game, manage UI, and if we go into player input and we go up here, this is where all the numbers are. And if we go through each one and we check its index, you'll see that this is the index for number 1, index for number 2, and so on. And if we go into function, we just map the right key to each button. For 1 is 1, for 2 is 2, and so on. But let's just say, let's just get this index, go back into our sandbox, and you'll see that it's basically the same if I copy paste it here. So when you press 1 on your keyboard, it will go into this little thing over here. I like to have the print just so I can know which number I printed or I inputted, and it goes into the composite. So let's go into it and see how it actually looks and what's happening here. So right now we have a couple of nodes here. There's a formula for this. So when you want to create a number, the formula is basically this one right here. It's your current index, which is basically your current number at the beginning. It is 0. You multiply that by 10 plus the number that you put in. So for instance, as an example, if you put in 1, if you put in 1 times 1, that is actually this is not correct. Ignore this. So if your current index is 1 times 0 times 10 plus 1, that is number 1. If you put 2 to have number 12, it's basically 1 times 10 plus 2, which is, well, 12, and so on and so forth. So this is the formula that we are using. And as you can see, we get the input, we multiply by 10. We don't have anything here because we input that number right here, and we just modified the structure of the player keyboard, or sorry, the player keyboard structure. And that's what we basically do for each number. We just put what number we need for, well, its respective button, and that's how you get a number. So after you submit, you go into input state, and this is where it basically checks the state of your inputs. We have a couple of buttons here. I'm going to show those buttons as well in the manager UI, but for now I'll explain what each button does. The first one, it's the delete your input, which basically just puts your current input back to 0. The second one puts the current input back to 0, but also it puts your result number, the number that you see below after your input, it just modifies that number with your input. And down here it is for text. We're gonna get into this in a little bit. So if we go back into our UI, manager UI, and if we go to here, these are the two buttons that I was talking about, the delete and the submit input. And once again, these numbers are saved in a structure called player keyboard. Your input number is basically the number that you put in, and your result number is the number that you get after your input. And you can use this number however you want in your stages. So that's basically how the numbers work. Now, let's go into how the strings or the string works. Let's go back into manager, player input. I think I've already shown this, but just so you can see. Like I said before, we don't have an actual string. We have a list of characters that we just put together that basically simulates a string. That's how we get the text. And if we want to get the result as well, down here, we will basically have this right here. So what this does, we have a result text list, just like numbers, but this is a list for each character. And if I were to if I were to copy this and put, for instance, 1 here and maybe move it a little bit, like 20 pixels to the right, then we will have 2 characters from our input. If we do it again, we will have 3 characters, 4 characters, so on and so forth. So I'm just lazy and I just didn't want to do this again because it took a little bit of time. But yeah, this is how you would get your result shown in the UI. Now the actual test, the value, is saved in your structured. It's saved right here. So even if you don't show it, don't worry, that input value that you put in, it's saved here. Now, I think I already shown how this works, letters and keyboard, but again, I'm doing this live. I might talk about things twice, but so I'm sorry, but moving forward, um, we're using this current string ASCII to get the current ASCII value. So we have this letters structure in which we have 2 dictionaries, like I said before. Each ASCII has a value, and we also have the reverse just in case, but right now we don't really use this. But when I have a dictionary, I like to have like 2 versions of it, one where the key is the value and the value is the key and vice versa and all that. So this is how it looks like. Now, problem is, and this might not, you might not like what I'll say next, but if, for instance, you want to have lowercase as well, you would find the ASCII value of that and you will put it in here. It kind of takes a little bit of time. So what I like to do when I work with structures and I have like a huge amount of structures, structures that have a bunch of lists, a bunch of custom variables and all that, I like to export it. So if you go to export variables, it exports a JSON file. I'm not going to export it, but I'm going to show you how it looks. So if we go into Visual Studio Code, this is basically our structure, our letter ASCII structure right here. And yes, I am using AI codecs for this because it really helps me input all the values that I need, and inputting them manually just takes time. This is done quicker. But if you want to do it this way, you can do it this way. If not, you can just input it into the directly into the editor. But if you have the export and you modify it here, you can just import it and it will import with the values that you modified. Just keep in mind the number of the list or the number of items in your dictionary must match. So if, for instance, we have here, I don't know, I think 27 items. So if you add a new item in here, if I go all the way here, so if I would add something like, oh, my bad. Yeah, so if I would add, yes, I didn't export the latest one. So if I would add something like this again, but like 2 times, the game will not accept unless you add 2 more right here. So you would just add 2 more right here, and it will accept it. So it must match the number of items in your list. Okay, enough chit chat. Again, sorry. I'm trying to explain everything that I've done so far. And if you go back into letters, again, it works exactly like numbers. So let me show you the nodes. Let me close this. So we have letters. As you can see, it's very similar to numbers. It's just that we have a lot more letters than numbers, apparently. That's just how it is. Each button is each button is connected to its its letter. Now, some of you who might have worked with UI will recognize or will know that there's a problem with this. We don't have all the alphabet or or we don't have all the letters from the alphabet in the manager UI. Or we do have it, but we can't use some of them. And some of those are B, C, M, N, and I think I'm missing one more. So what we did, or what I did, is we have right here, we have the alphabet right here. And similar to numbers, you just take the index, you go into your sandbox, and you put it into the multiple branches, and you just uh, correspond the correct button to the correct letter. I'll show you how SG function works in just a second. I'm going to show you what I did for the letters that are not present or not usable. So as you can see, A, it can be used, but if we go to B, now if we go through this list, B is not present because B is already being used by another component in the game, and that is your backpack. Unfortunately, you cannot overwrite that, and I really hope that in the future Hoyo will update it so we can use all of the letters in the alphabet and just like rearrange everything that however we want. So for now, we are using the up arrow as our B. C is the same because C is for the character component, if I'm not mistaken. So we use the down arrow, and it was M, which is for the map. We use F5. N, I don't know what N is for anymore, but yeah, we use F6, and I think there was one more, if I'm not mistaken. No, there wasn't. So when you create this on your own, uh, if you don't see the letter in the list of maps, oh sorry, in the list of keys, just put something else for now, and just remember that okay, for M I have to basically type F5 to get M. It's just a little workaround, and I really hope that this is going to get updated in the future so we can actually use the letter M and so on. But yeah, it works similar to numbers. You have the index, you have your key map, and if you go back into your sandbox, this is how it actually looks like. Now, let me show you how the function looks. This is how you get your letter. What it does is, let me go back here. You input you input your ASCII. So if we have this button right here, this is A basically. You press A, you go into this, you input 65 because 65 in the dictionary that's in our structured, 65 is the key, and the value for that key is, the value for that key is A. So if you go back in here, we just get the custom variable. We modify the structure. Right here, this is the ASCII that we input. So for the letter A is 65. And what it does, it basically just goes through the structured. It finds the letter A in our dictionary, and it inserts it. Remember, we're using character lists, not a string. It inserts it into a list called the input text. And I'll show you again what the input text is. And after we pressed a button, we go to the next index. Now, since there are 26 letters, uh, I said that if we get to the limit, just put the index back to 0, and whatever happens happens. You can modify how many characters you can have. Right now, I think our limit, if I'm not mistaken, is around, let me see. Yeah, so our limit is at 16. I know it says 15, but programmers, once again, we always start our index from 0. So we have 16 characters that we can have on display. We can create a new one and add another one, and we will have 17. It's not a problem. So this is just, if you want more or if you want less, just remember, uh, you can add more or add less. So if we go back into Sandbox, so yeah, if our index reaches, well, the limit of letters, well, we just reset the index. And we modify it. And that's pretty much it what we do. Now, if we go back into state, once again, when we hit the delete button, we basically have to iterate through that input list. What we do here is we go through all of the items in our list, even those that are empty or don't have any letters, because we don't know. Like, as the developer, you don't know if the player has put in like 10 characters or 5 characters. It's safer to just go through the entire list. We go through the entire list, and we set each value to be basically an empty space. So right here, if I just go into here and press space, that's it. That's all you need to do. And that value at position 0, or sorry, index 0, is going to just become an empty space. And of course, modify the current ASCII and your index so you don't input a letter at index 5 or 6. And the submit button, which is this one, basically does exactly what the delete button is. You just, submit your value to the result text right here. So the text that is shown at the bottom, the one that I'm too lazy to implement to show the entire thing. So that's pretty much how everything works. I know some of it might sound confusing, or maybe I have not explained it uh, properly. Sorry for that. But don't worry, I will have this entire stage. I'll have a link to where you can download it, so you can look into it yourself, see what I did, maybe modify something if you really want to, or maybe have a better understanding on like what I did, how I did it. So you'll be able to play around with this. If there's anything, let me check. I think that's pretty much it. I think I've been talking here for like 27 minutes. So yeah, any questions? Any questions that you have, any doubts, or even if you have some ideas on how to improve this, or maybe you're like, hey, I already made this, here's how I did it, and it's a lot better, please show me. I'm actually very curious to see how other people made it. I don't know if anyone else made something like this. I tried to look for a video or a stage that does this, and I could not find it. So I'm not saying I'm the first. I'm just saying that, well, this is what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Sorry that I kind of wasted 28 minutes of your life. But if you really want to use this in your stages, or you want to just learn how to create this, once again, you can come to this video, or you can just download the stage and just go through it step by step and see what I did, how I did it, and maybe you're probably gonna say, yeah, no, this is not how you should do it. All right, that's enough me talking. Thanks for watching, and until next time.